Welcome to the fourth video, and this is in many cases the most important of the videos because it involves using our tongue to articulate, doing what we call tonguing. If I blow into my instrument, into the saxophone, and just I'm releasing my air and just sustaining a sound. If I wanted to play several of that note, you heard several A's, but I just took a puff of air for every note. Instead, if I use my tongue, this allows me to do this. I did that all in one breath, but I use my tongue to make those notes of different lengths, some faster than others. So what I did to make this happen is I took a breath, put my tongue to the tip of the reed, and blew after I formed my embouchure, and nothing came out until I pulled my tongue away. You heard that silence? I was blowing and nothing came out until my tongue, I'll pretend my finger is my tongue. Once I pulled my tongue away, then the note spoke. If I put my tongue back to that same spot and keep blowing, it'll stop the sound or end the note. This is basically what I was doing. So sometimes I held my tongue there for a little bit. Sometimes I touched it and pulled it away quickly. So you heard different length notes depending on how long I held my tongue on the tip of the reed. Now, what part of the tongue do you use? Everyone's oral cavity and tongue is not identical. Sometimes you hear people say it should always be the tip of your tongue, but that's not the case. It needs to be the part of your tongue that's the most comfortable for you to touch the reed with. It has to be this spot all the time. I don't want to touch the reed here or here or here. I want it to be that spot that prevents my air from going through. And since everyone's different, I want to use the part of the tongue that feels most comfortable. For some of you, it'll be the very, very tip of the tongue. For some of you, it might be way back on your tongue. There's something called anchor tonguing, where people put the tip of their tongue where their lower teeth and gum meet, and they touch the reed way back. That's for someone who might have a small oral cavity, but a big tongue. The majority of people tongue a little ways back from the tip of their tongue. So not on the very tip, but slightly back. You need to experiment to see what's most comfortable for you, and don't feel like it has to be the very tip. There's a good chance if you use the very tip, you might not feel comfortable touching that spot, and you'll put your tongue lower, and then you'll get a thuddy sound that isn't very pleasant, that many saxophonists, unfortunately, use that approach when they articulate. So, the next thing is, okay, I know where to put my tongue. What else could I do to make that a little bit more helpful? And it's to think a certain syllable. A lot of people think to or do, but when I was a sixth grader playing the saxophone, I thought a syllable like to or do, but touched the roof of my mouth, which is something I should not have done. And I tongued that way incorrectly for years. I can't even recreate it now. I think the syllable thoo, T-H-O-O, just because when I say thoo, my tongue goes to the front of my mouth. It might be the same result as thinking to or do, but I've had a few students I've encountered through the years, several actually, who tongue on the roof of their mouth. And once I told them to think thou, it made everything click like it did to me. The other final thing to think about tonguing is that when you pull your tongue away, you barely want to pull it away. You want to be efficient, so you don't want to be pulling it really far away. You can figure out the distance you're pulling your tongue away by allowing a note to speak, sustaining it, and gradually inching your tongue closer. And then finally the sound will stop. And it's a good way for you to figure out, did I pull my tongue away way too far? Instead of just barely pulling it away. So that's articulation, one of the more challenging things about playing the instrument. And one other quick thing I want to say about articulation is if I'm playing two notes back and forth, you heard me start slowly and you heard the note stop. And well, it's because I put my tongue and stopped the air from going through. And while my tongue was on the reed, I lifted up the fingering for the next note. Then I pull my tongue away. And then I let that next note speak. I stopped that note with my tongue and I switch fingerings. But the thing is, I kept my air blowing all the time. You'll get used to, you have to feel this pressure in your head from blowing your air nonstop. It's a little bit complicated, but once you figure it out, you'll find that it's very easy and comfortable. The thing is, we do stop notes with our tongue when we play our instrument. We don't want to stop the final note, something we play with our tongue. I don't want, it didn't sound good to stop that last note with my tongue, but we often, most of the time, use our tongue to stop lots and lots of pitches as we play. So good luck with articulation. It's not quite as complicated as maybe as it's made out to be. So good luck.